Alrighty, so News of the Week episode on this Wednesday evening, and let's get straight into talk about the biggest news that actually happened yesterday, and definitely a big bombshell that was dropped yesterday, according to Tom Bogert, and that is there is reports that he's saying that Tata Martino has officially stepped down as the head coach of Inter Miami. So I think it was just a couple of days ago. I think it was last week when I did my moving forward series talk about Inter Miami, and I talked about whether or not if Tata Martino is the right man to continue to lead this Inter Miami team heading into next season? Well, now it seems like we found the answer, and that, of course, is no. Now, according to his report as well, Tom Bogert, it seems like it's for personal reason. That is the reason why he stepped down as the head coach of Inter Miami. But there's already been a lot of speculation of the fact that maybe he was kind of forced into stepping down rather for family reason, and that after a record breaking season that Inter Miami has had, well, everybody is not going to remember that because of them involving in the wrong end of probably the biggest upset we have ever seen in the playoff history, losing to Atlanta United. And that, again, I will also say that, Tata Martino during his time with Inter Miami, there's been some mixed opinion about him. There's some that said that he's doing a good job, especially able to guide this team to a record amount of points. But then there are some that still definitely question his job and don't really like in terms of some of the tactics and some of the substitution pattern that he, of course, has used. But either way, Inter Miami is going to be looking for a new head coach heading into next season, and that there's definitely some interesting name. I mean, I know some people have already mentioned, well, what about Jim Kern? That might be the biggest name out there that could be the head coach of Inter Miami. I don't know. I don't think Jim Curran is probably interested in Curran's job just based on the personality that Jim Curran has. I don't think it kind of fits very well with Inter Miami. One name I can think of instantly that may could potentially have a chance to be the head coach of Inter Miami is none other than Javi. So the reason why I mention it is because obviously with Inter Miami stocking up former Barcelona player, and now there's rumor that Neymar could be the latest one come to Inter Miami, and that pretty much complete the MSN trio that we saw that was part of the dominant days that Barcelona has back in the mid 2010. So why not add another guy that was also part of that big piece in Xavi there, and doing his time coaching for Barcelona with Xavi, he had kind of a mixed bag kind of resort. He was okay during that time, but he also didn't really get too much good resort with Barcelona as well. So whether or not if you want to get another guy that at least has some head coaching experience in terms of the biggest team, but also you all also have a head coach that knows a lot of these players because he played for these players, these former Barcelona players, and that might have just kind of complete. The Inter Miami has just become Inter Miami, formerly Barcelona, rather than the team itself. But still, it'll be interesting to see who is going to be the next head coach as Inter Miami. Either way, I think it's going to be a big name. I think with all the star players that this Inter Miami team is going to have, probably go one last go around heading into next season. They need to make this hiring correct and probably make a big splash too, because again, I do think that next season this is probably where we're going to see the end of Messi and friends. I don't think Messi is going to return in 2026 or some of their best player as well beyond that. So there's no doubt they have to get this right next season, and the head coaching job is definitely one of the big area that they absolutely need to get it right heading into next season as well. Now, speaking of head coach, so congratulations to Wilfred Nancy. He has named as the coach of the year. Now, I was wondering that when I heard the news of Tata Martino's stepping down as the Inter Miami head coach, I was wondering, are we going to have a kind of awkward situation where MLS decided to name Tata Martino as the coach of the year, even though literally just one day later, he of course was stepped down, and we have seen that happen before. I think a couple years ago wasn't in the NBA where one of the head coach was named coach of the year. I forgot who exactly it was, but then he was like fired literally a couple of days ago. So that was kind of weird to name one of the head coach being the head coach of the year, only for the organization that he's coaching decided to let go of him. And I thought that we were going to be in the same case as well, but no. They decided to award to Wilfred Nancy. Obviously, the Coach of the Year award. I think this is an award that there's always talks about that there's definitely some possible snubs that is there. You know, many people will mention Greg Vanny and how good of a job he's done with the Galaxy. Probably should mentioned. And then, of course, Tata Martino himself. Yes, I know he choked in the first round of the playoffs. But remember, the Coach of the Year award is throughout the season as well. And, you know, I thought that with him breaking the record and also winning the supporter show. And as it is kind of the case for the past couple of years, the team that wins the supporter show, usually the head coach would win that award. But instead, they give it to Wilfred Nancy, and that's not a bad show. I mean, Wilfred Nancy absolutely deserved this award. His resume with Columbus has really kind of built up to the moment that he's finally deserved some recognition. I mean, guiding this team second in the league, and not to mention guiding this team into a Leeds Cup win, and also getting themselves into the final of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And after battling all these kind of competition and still look very well throughout the season, yeah, Wilfred Nancy definitely deserve the honor. And there's no doubt that I think if he continued this with Columbus, there's no doubt that there's going to be a lot of team in Europe that is going to look to try to get him. I mean, there's already rumors that there's a lot of team in Europe that is looking to try to get Wilfred Nancy away from the Columbus Crew. Now, speaking of head coach as well, so we do have a head coach that was hired, as FC Dallas have named Eric Quill as their new head coach. Now, this is not a big surprise considering that Dallas, when you look at some of their recent head coaching move, it's always coming from guys that are from the academy, and Eric Quill is the latest one. Of course, he was formerly the New Mexico United head coach. So now we're gonna have two head coach that used to coach New Mexico United that is gonna be in MLS. We already saw Troy Lisset with DC United. Now we're gonna see Eric Quill with FC Dallas. And from what I heard, it seems like he plays some very wonderful soccer with New Mexico United. Really got that team to be one of the better team in the Western Conference in the USL Championship. So there's no doubt that this hiring does make sense because there has to be some entertainment and some more attacking threat to this Dallas team that's been kind of lacking for the past couple of years. Although I will say that last season, you know, part of the reason why Dallas falter isn't just because of the lack of goal scoring. They actually did had a decent goal scoring in Pedro Musa. It's the defense that is a bit of a concern. And when you play that attacking brand of soccer, you know, you're gonna have to maybe sometimes sacrifice the defensive end, and that might be something that it'll be interesting to see. You know, whether if Eric Quill can still put an entertaining brand of soccer that Dallas play, but also make sure he locks down that defense because that defense has just kind of got worse as the year goes along with Nico Estevez and even with Peter Lucine coming in. He didn't really quite fix that defense too. The resort still didn't show as well. But the other thing I will also say is that, you know, Dallas, when you look at some of the recent head coaches that they hired from the academy, you know, none of them really have had a lot of success. So they hope this might be the time to do so, especially again. Besides New Mexico United, he was the North Texas SC head coach. He has dealt with a lot of these youngster and academy player, and that's just kind of how Dallas roll when it comes to producing their most of their talent, and also in terms of hiring head coach as well. They're going to promote within, and even though it hasn't worked out so far, let's see if this might be the time that it will work out for them to get themselves back to playoff contention next season. Now, moving on in terms of the next news. So we got a big transfer rumor that happened a couple of days ago, and that involved FC Cincinnati. They're set to complete a record transfer of Togo international Kelvin, or not Kelvin, Kevin Densky from Circular Bruges. Now, this is a guy I have never heard of this guy, and apparently, the amount that Cincinnati is paying is $17 million, which that is a lot of money, and for a guy that, you know, I haven't heard a lot about. There is a bit of a risk in terms of it, and especially, you know, when you look at this team, there's no doubt that they're still looking for a number nine. I mean, Kevin Kelsey has been kind of a bit of a disappointment for the Cincinnati team. They're clearly trying to replace the product that Brenner brought to this team a couple of years ago. But yeah, for that amount of money, they better hope that he's going to be one of the top goals scored in the league, because when you pay that amount of money, you would expect to not only guaranteed to be a guy that could be a 10 plus goal scored, he has to at least get 15 plus goal or even close to 20 goals if he is worth that amount. And again, for a guy that I haven't really heard about, this is kind of a bit of a surprised to throw that much money on a guy. And also coming from a club that, this is not Club Brugge we're talking about. This is Cercle Brugge, a team that kind of plays second fiddle to the main team that is based in Bruges, Belgium. Again, this is kind of an interesting one, and we'll see whether or not this will turn out well for Cincinnati if they do get this deal done. Now, Joseph Martinez, he is report that he's going to be leaving CF Montreal, so it's going to be interesting to see where Joseph is going to go next. It's going to be very funny if Atlanta United decided that, you know what, let's bring back Joseph. I mean, I know obviously he had some bad relationship with Atlanta United during his latter years, but why not bring back Joseph? I mean, it kind of makes sense because this team they do need a number nine in their roster. They're looking to find a replacement in Yakimakis. I think this would make perfect sense if Atlanta decided to get him, and if it does, I mean, it would be a great welcome back because he's still very well loved in the Atlanta United fan base, and it will make. Even though he's definitely not the same player that he was a couple of years ago when he was really the dominant force in terms of number nine in the league. I think he would just for nostalgia region and just also just for Atlanta fans to not feeling really kind of a little bit bittersweet seeing Joseph Martinez scoring against his former team. It makes sense that you would think Atlanta maybe would want to pursue and maybe welcome the King back home to the club that is kind of what makes him a big name in terms of MLS. Now, moving on, Nashville SC is looking to sign midfielder Edward Turksev from Rosenborg. Now, I have no idea who this guy is, so we'll see how this move, of course, would turns out. Anytime when you decide to sign a guy from the Norwegian league, it can be hit and miss. I've seen some good players that come out of the Scandinavian league, and I have seen some absolute flops. So we'll see whether or not if this is going to be a good signing will and help booster this Nashville midfielder as well. And then moving on now, talk about news unrelated to transfer rumors and signings. So City Field is going to be increasing their capacity to 25,000 for that playoff Hudson River Derby game. Now, for those wondering, why can't they just open the full stadium? Why can't they just go like 45,000 plus as City Field could hold. Apparently, I think they're doing some renovation in the upper deck, so that's why they couldn't open the full capacity. I think 25,000 is kind of the maximum capacity that they can open up without disturbing the renovation that is going on. Because again, I don't think the New York Mets thought that the NYCFC was going to go this deep into the playoffs, and especially I don't think they would have thought. I don't think even NYCFC think that they would be still be hosting home playoff games despite the fact that they're the number 6 seed in coming into this playoffs. But yeah, there's no doubt that at least the capacity will increase a bit. I mean, at least as long as this game is not at Red Bull Arena, I think that would be a good thing. Considering again, I said before, it would be really funny, but also kind of humiliating if you're NYCFC. Perspective that you basically host this game at Red Bull Arena and that you're designated as the home team, but you're playing against your opponent that is literally call that as the venue of their home. I mean, it's going to be similar to what we saw during the COVID shortened season. Remember those COVID shortened season when Canadian team were playing in MLS Stadium, and there were times where we saw Canadian team were playing against the landlord in kind of like a landlord derby, and it was kind of awkward to see that happen, and we definitely don't want to see that happen in the playoffs as well. Now, moving on. So the USL Championship, they're announcing that they're going to be expanding a team based out of Dallas and most specifically Garland, Texas, that is, which is just outside of Dallas. Now, this is kind of interesting because the USL Championship, we know that they usually expand to market that doesn't have an MLS team. So to decided to expand to a market that already have an MLS team in FC Dallas, it's definitely an interesting choice. Now, one of the reasons why FC Dallas, they haven't really done a good job in terms of so marketing the Dallas Fort Worth area a lot. I mean, if you go to Dallas right now, if you ask who is FC Dallas, unless of course you live in the northern part of the suburb or live in the Frisco area, nobody would know who FC Dallas is. So I guess maybe this is an opportunity for USL to say, hey, let's bring a team based out of Dallas that actually does represent the Dallas Fort Worth area. Though again, I don't know if this, of course, would would work out whatsoever. I mean, I think the only example I can think of right now that we see in a USL Championship side that is based on a market that already have an MLS team is down in the Miami area, and you know how Miami FC of course expanded into this league, and yeah, it has not worked out so well for Miami FC when they considered to be not only the worst team in the USL Championship last season, but had literally the lowest attendance out of any team during that point. So again, it's an interesting choice for the USL Championship to expand to an existing MLS market. I would assume they would continue to expand to a market that doesn't have an MLS team, but definitely has definitely has that thinking of decided to want a USL team and can support a USL team as well. And then one of those city that I thought that might get it is Grand Rapids, but instead it seems like Grand Rapids is looking to get an MLS Next Pro team instead. They're looking to actually build probably the biggest soccer specific MLS Next Pro stadium that is not an MLS stadium that marks at 8,500. Now, obviously, when it comes to MLS Next Pro game, the attendance is not always the best. I mean, unless if you're St. Louis and some of these individual kind of MLS Next Pro team that's not affiliated to an MLS team, the attendance is not very good. So for them to decide to build a big stadium and build a stadium that could fit the size of a USL Championship side, it's definitely an interesting choice. And again, I do think that if Grand Rapids was going to get a team, I would assume they would get one in USL Championship. You would have a really good rivalry with Detroit if Grand Rapids was going to get a team, but no, instead they're going to go to the MLS Next Pro. And again, I'm assuming they're going to be unaffiliated with any team because around the Michigan area and around that area, I mean, there's really not any team that is near there. The closest team obviously is probably Columbus, but Columbus already have a MLS Next Pro team in their second team as well. So it's kind of an interesting thing. And this is going to be kind of the thing that we'll continue to see as more of these cities that are looking to trying to get a professional soccer team. Will they play in the MLS Next Pro or will they play in the USL level? And then the U.S. men's national team is also announcing that they're going to be playing their January friendly against Venezuela at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. So I think this is the first time that the U.S. Have played a match at Chase Stadium. And again, I'm kind of a little disappointed the fact that they decided to choose another existing MLS stadium. I do feel like, for them, when it comes to these January Cupcake game, do it in a USL Championship side. We saw it last year when they did it in San Antonio. That game sold out. There was a lot of interest in terms of that. So why not decided to do it in another USL Championship side? Like I would have thought that the perfect USL Championship stadium that the US Men's National Team can hold these January camp. Why not do it either in Colorado Spring or even in Louisville as well? Because those two stadium are among the best USL Championship stadium in the league. So it just kind of makes sense that they could have just hosted there, and you host it in a city that obviously has that passion for soccer, and you're going to see it potentially sell out as well. But instead, you decided to host it at Chase Stadium, and if especially in South Florida, where this is an area that has a heavy Venezuelan population, this is gonna just feel like it's a road game for the U.S. Like this kind of just doesn't make any sense. And I know in terms of these cupcake game, it doesn't really matter how it is, but you still also want to have a support too. And again, playing against Venezuela, this is going to be a road game for the U.S. Venezuela is going to absolutely dominate that stadium. I think Venezuela has played friendly at Chase Stadium before, and they absolutely sold out that stadium. And this obviously is good news for a lot of those Venezuelan down there get to see their team play, especially play with the likes of the U.S. But again, it just kind of doesn't make sense for them to have a January camp in a stadium that they're definitely going to be the road team, and not to mention it's a missed opportunity like what we saw last season where they could have exploited to new market for these January camp. Now, lastly, MLS have announced that they have cleared commentator Taylor Twellman of any allegation that happened where there was an allegation that he was involved in an altercation with a production member, but looks like MLS says that it was a nothing Burger. They've also said that it seems like Taylor Twellman was trying to to um to communicate with a production member, but doesn't want to interrupt the live broadcast whatsoever. He might have maybe accidentally gone a little too far in terms of that, but obviously, it seems like both party agrees with it. And again, I kind of had a feeling that it seems like Taylor Twellman is coming back, considering that he, even doing the investigation, he was still very active on Twitter, or as X, as we called it, and that there's no doubt that I think he is. It seems like because of that. It seems like maybe they already cleared his undoing, because he wouldn't be tweeting a lot of stuff and hosting his usual podcast if he's not clear in terms of this investigation. So yeah, he's gonna be back calling games, and depending on how you look at it, that might be good news or that might be bad news. Mostly maybe on the bad news part, because I know a lot of MLS fans don't really like Taylor Twellman, especially the color commentator that he brings along with Jake Zivins. But it's gonna happen. It's going to happen, especially they are going to be the guy that will be calling not only the one of the conference final, but also the MLS Cup as well, being the late lead commentating team of Apple TV. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these news, and if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments below as always. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.